Step into Paris during the 1700s, one of Europe's most remarkable cities during an era defined by elegance, intellectual awakening, and ultimately, revolution. With the help of cutting-edge AI technology, we are bringing centuries-old paintings and engravings to life as photorealistic visuals, offering you a vivid glimpse into what daily existence truly looked like in 18th century France. Throughout this century, Paris was home to roughly 600,000 souls, placing it among the largest cities on the planet. It stood as the beating heart of art, philosophy, and culture, the home of thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau, whose Enlightenment ideas challenged every assumption about how civilization ought to be organized. Yet beneath the grand boulevards and stately architecture lay a city of glaring contrasts. While noblemen enjoyed lives of privilege along the banks of the Seine, the overwhelming majority of Parisians endured overcrowded, unsanitary conditions in the city's poorer quarters. As we near the end of our journey, we will also bring to life the explosive imagery of the French Revolution, that earth-shattering moment in 1789 when generations of inequality finally ignited into open conflict, altering the course of France and indeed the world. Now, let us begin our tour. We open on the River Seine, gazing toward the Ile de la Cité, captured in a 1750s painting by Nicolas Jean-Baptiste Raguenet. The Pont Neuf stretches across the water, already more than 150 years old at this point, having been completed back in 1607. The Seine was very much a working river, alive with timber rafts, cargo barges hauling wine from the Burgundy region, and merchant vessels delivering coal and grain to sustain Paris's vast population. Along the quaysides, dock workers and cart drivers pushed through the muddy thoroughfares, hauling their heavy loads. On the right bank, the Institut de France rises with its gilded dome, constructed in the 1660s. Further in the distance, the twin towers of Notre Dame Cathedral emerge from the Ile de la Cité, the ancient island considered the very birthplace of Paris. The river itself, however, was no picturesque waterway. Raw sewage and factory waste poured directly into the Seine, generating an overpowering odor, and yet Parisians continued to draw their drinking water from these same polluted currents. In modern times, the Seine has undergone extensive restoration, and its quaysides are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This engraving, produced by Peter Schenk, depicts Notre Dame Cathedral as it appeared in the early 1700s, standing at the spiritual core of Paris on the Ile de la Cité. Construction of the cathedral had begun in 1163 and required nearly 2 centuries to complete, resulting in one of the most celebrated examples of French Gothic architecture. The building's iconic twin towers and breathtaking rose window presided over the medieval island below. Unlike the open plaza visitors encounter today, Notre Dame was once hemmed in on all sides by tightly packed buildings that pressed right up against its walls. The surrounding lanes were dim and filthy, carpeted in horse dung and refuse, with open drainage channels filling the air with a terrible stench. And yet Parisians continued to draw their drinking water from these same polluted currents. In modern times, the Seine has undergone extensive restoration, and its quaysides are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This image presents the Hôtel de Soissons, a grand palatial residence commissioned for Catherine de' Medici, constructed between 1572 and 1584. Its most striking feature was the towering astronomical column rising 28 meters into the sky, constructed for astrological study, reflecting Catherine's deep fascination with the stars. By the 18th century, the palace had passed into the hands of the princes of Soissons and served as a home for various noble families though it had long ceased to function as a royal seat of power. The formal gardens were laid out in the geometric style characteristic of French Renaissance design, forming a refined sanctuary in one of Paris's most densely inhabited districts. The palace sat adjacent to Les Halles, the city's central food market, which had operated since the 12th century. The surrounding streets ranked among the filthiest in all of Paris, perpetually strewn with decaying vegetables, offal from butchers' stalls, and layers of horse manure. The contrast between the palace's manicured gardens and the squalor immediately beyond its walls was remarkable. The palace eventually fell into neglect and was torn down in 1748. Today, the area forms part of the modern Les Halles commercial district, with no physical remnant of the original structure. In this image, we see the Palais du Temple, specifically the gateway to the Paris headquarters of the Knights of Malta. The complex was originally constructed as a European stronghold of the Knights Templars during the 11th and 12th centuries. Following the suppression of the Templars in 1307, the property transferred to the Knights Hospitallers. By the 18th century, this neoclassical entrance led into the residence of the Grand Prior of Malta in France, a position frequently held by members of the French royal family. The temple enclosure operated as a semi-autonomous territory within Paris, exempt from the city's standard laws and taxation. This unusual status made it an attractive haven for both aristocrats seeking privacy and craftsmen looking to operate outside the constraints of the guild system. The district earned a reputation for producing luxury goods free from guild oversight. The complex's most dramatic episode came during the Revolution, when its medieval tower served as a prison for Louis XVI and his family in 1792. Napoleon subsequently ordered the entire complex demolished between 1808 and 1811, determined to prevent it from becoming a focal point for royalist sentiment. Not a single wall survives. We now visit the Foire Saint-Germain, one of Paris's most beloved seasonal fairs, held each year for 6 weeks between February and Easter on the grounds of the Abbey of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. The fair's elegant neoclassical arcades housed hundreds of temporary stalls offering luxury items, fine silks, jewelry, books, porcelain, and rare imports from distant lands. Upper-level pavilions hosted theatrical productions, including early forms of opera and comedy. Every stratum of Parisian society gathered here, with titled aristocrats in silk finery mingling alongside merchants and street vendors. The covered passages also accommodated cafes, dining establishments, and gambling rooms, functioning in effect as seasonal shopping and entertainment destinations centuries before such concepts existed. The fair was shut down during the Revolution in 1789, and its buildings were demolished between 1813 and 1818. Nothing remains of this once vivid seasonal spectacle today. Here we see the Hôtel de Luynes, an opulent aristocratic townhouse belonging to the Duke of Luynes, positioned along the left bank of the Seine. The Luynes family occupied a prominent place in French nobility. The dukedom itself was established in 1619 for Charles d'Albert, a confidant of Louis XIII. This palace perfectly embodied the lifestyle of French upper aristocracy during the 1700s. Its elegant classical architecture featured multiple wings, steeply pitched slate roofs, and ornately decorated facades typical of noble residences of the period. Direct access to the Seine was both a mark of prestige and a practical advantage. Boats could arrive carrying goods and guests directly to the palace's private landing. These grand townhouses contained dozens of rooms designed for lavish entertaining, along with private apartments, servants' wings, and formal gardens. The interior courtyards were kept in considerably better condition than the public streets beyond, with servants employed to sweep them despite the pollution drifting in from the river. During the revolutionary years, such visible displays of aristocratic wealth became deeply controversial. Many noble residences were lost to destruction during the French Revolution, and the Hôtel de Luynes is no longer standing. No exploration of the 18th century France would be complete without visiting the Palace of Versailles, the magnificent royal residence situated roughly 12 miles southwest of Paris. Although technically outside the city limits, it is simply impossible to tell the story of this era without it. King Louis XIV commissioned the palace between 1661 and 1715, transforming what had originally been his father's modest hunting retreat into the largest royal palace in Europe, comprising over 700 rooms, sweeping gardens, and spectacular fountains. Substantial expansions in the 1680s created the enormous wings and courtyards that define the palace's silhouette today. In 1682, Louis transferred the entire French court and government from Paris to Versailles, making it the undisputed center of political power in France. Visitors arriving at the palace passed through 3 successive courtyards, the building's imposing facade growing more magnificent with each step. Within, thousands of courtiers jostled for royal favor through elaborate ceremonies and rituals. On the garden side, meticulously designed parterres, the work of legendary landscape architect André Lanotte, featured precise geometric patterns, fountains, and tree-lined walkways where the aristocracy paraded in their finest attire. The gardens required constant upkeep, though the sheer volume of horses and people meant conditions were rarely quite as pristine as the era's paintings suggest. Versailles, however, came at a staggering cost, consuming vast sums of tax revenue, while ordinary French men and women struggled with poverty and food insecurity. This yawning chasm between royal extravagance and public hardship would, in time, provide the kindling for revolution. Today, Versailles remains one of the world's most visited landmarks and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This structure is the Observatoire de Paris, one of the oldest astronomical observatories still in active operation anywhere in the world. Established by King Louis XIV in 1667, it was completed by 1772. Every aspect of the building's design served its scientific function. Its 4 exterior walls were aligned precisely with the cardinal directions, and its meridian line served as the reference point for all French cartography until the Greenwich meridian was adopted as the international standard in 1884. The observatory reflected Louis XIV's ambition to position France at the forefront of European scientific progress, and it housed the newly founded Académie des Sciences. Leading astronomers from across the continent were drawn here, including Giovanni Cassini, who made his celebrated discoveries of 4 of Saturn's moons from within these walls. The site was deliberately chosen on the southern edge of Paris, away from the city's smoke and haze, to allow for clearer observation of the skies. At the time, the surrounding area remained largely semi-rural, dotted with fields and gardens. The observatory continues its work today as a leading center for astronomical research after more than 350 years of uninterrupted scientific activity. Les Invalides was established by King Louis XIV in 1670 as a dedicated hospital and residential retreat for soldiers wounded in service of France. Prior to its founding, disabled veterans were frequently left with no recourse but to beg in the city's streets. Louis XIV wished to honor those who had sacrificed their health and well-being for the kingdom, providing them with proper care and a measure of dignity in return. The enormous complex was capable of accommodating up to 4,000 veterans simultaneously, offering dormitories, medical facilities, workshops, and this vast parade ground stretching across the esplanade. The iconic Golden Dome, designed by Jules Audouin Mansart and finished in 1706, rapidly became one of Paris's most recognizable landmarks. This particular engraving, dating to around 1710, captures Les Invalides at the time of its completion. Veterans lived under a structured military routine, attending daily religious services, working in the on-site workshops, and taking part in ceremonial occasions. The location was considerably cleaner than the cramped districts of central Paris, benefiting from open space and the discipline of military maintenance. Today, Les Invalides continues to function as a working military hospital and is also home to the Museum of the Army and, beneath the Golden Dome, the tomb of Napoleon Bonaparte, installed in 1861. By the final years of the 1880s, France had reached the brink of collapse. Decades of costly military campaigns and extravagant royal expenditure had left the kingdom's finances in ruins. A series of poor harvests caused bread prices to spike dramatically, while the nobility continued to enjoy sweeping tax exemptions, heaping the entire burden onto ordinary French men and women. When Louis XVI convened the Estates General in May 1789, the first such assembly in 174 years, the representatives of the commoners, the so-called Third Estate, demanded genuine political reform. The king moved to silence them. This scene captures the violent ransacking of the prison Saint-Lazare on the 13th of July, 1789, just one day before the more celebrated storming of the Bastille. Saint-Lazare had a long and varied history. Originally a medieval hospice for those afflicted with leprosy, it later became a monastery before being repurposed as a prison where debtors and those detained by royal decree without trial were held. Paris was gripped by severe bread shortages, and word spread through the streets that grain was being concealed at Saint-Lazare while people went hungry. On July 13th, furious crowds surged into the compound, releasing around 50 prisoners and ransacking the buildings. They made off with stockpiles of grain, wine, and other supplies, distributing what they could through the city's streets. The damage was estimated at some 400,000 livres. In a grim irony, during the Reign of Terror in 1793 and 1794, Saint-Lazare itself became one of the Revolution's most notorious detention centers, holding aristocrats and those accused of counter-revolutionary activity while awaiting the guillotine. The complex was eventually razed in the 19th century. Today, the Gare Saint-Lazare railway station stands in part on the same ground. This engraving by Hellman records the storming of the Bastille on the 14th of July, 1789, the single most iconic event in the entire history of the French Revolution. The Bastille was a medieval fortress prison in the eastern part of the city, widely despised as a symbol of unchecked royal authority, where individuals could be imprisoned indefinitely by royal command with no recourse to justice. On the morning of 14th July, thousands of Parisians converged on the Bastille, demanding access to the weapons and gunpowder stored within. The fortress's governor, Bernard-René Delaunay, refused to capitulate. After hours of tense negotiation, the crowd launched an assault. Cannons were brought to bear, and a fierce exchange of musket fire and artillery fire filled the air with smoke. The battle lasted approximately 4 hours. Close to 100 attackers lost their lives before the garrison finally surrendered. The crowd flooded inside, freed the 7 prisoners being held there, and killed Governor Delaunay along with several of the guards. Their severed heads were hoisted on pikes and carried through the streets of Paris.
Though only 7 prisoners were discovered inside, the fall of the Bastille resonated far beyond its stone walls. It demonstrated undeniably that the power of the monarchy could be broken by force. The fortress was razed to the ground by November 1789. The Place de la Bastille and the Colonne de Juillet column now occupy the site, and the 14th of July is observed each year as Bastille Day, France's national celebration. The magnificent palaces, cathedrals, and institutions we have visited today represent only one side of the story. Behind every grand facade, the vast majority of Parisians endured conditions that are difficult for us to fully comprehend today. Yet from the upheaval of revolutionary Paris emerged ideas of liberty, of equality, of democratic governance that would ripple outward across Europe and the globe, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of government, human rights, and the nature of society itself. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through Paris in the 18th century. If you did, please let us know in the comments which city and era you'd like to explore next. Your own hometown might just be the subject of our next adventure. Thank you for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the past.